Hi, welcome to Movie Review. Mom, subscribe. What a way to open a video, right? So, I'm the mom and I do the movie reviews. I try to give you a heads up on content and film quality so you can make the best decision on whether or not you want to spend your time and money on a specific film. So, today, the movie I'm reviewing is A Christmas Carol. This is the 2020 version that just went live in some theaters in the United States and the United Kingdom and is now available POD, paid on demand video. All right, so let's get to it. First of all, I couldn't find a rating for this movie, but I would probably give it a rating of PG just because there are some fisticuffs that happen in the movie, but really, that's kind of it. I'll give you some tips for parents here in just a minute. It's an hour and 36 minutes, and the movie review mom grade I'm giving it is an A minus, but there are some buts. First, in a quick nutshell, it's directed by Jackie Morris. It's a very artsy fartsy version of the story that we all know and love during this time of year. However, it is nothing like you've ever seen before. It's being described as a radical retelling of the story that has already been filmed over 70 times. So, did we need another version or another remake? Well, yes and no. We've seen it done a million times. But again, like I said, this one is very different and will possibly cause you to look at the story differently. First of all, dancers will appreciate the flowing action that the story utilizes. And it really does feel like a mixture of theater, film, and ballet. The movie's official summary, it describes it really well. It says, the classic tale unfolds in a rich tapestry of highly absorbing theatrical drama featuring sumptuous visual effects inspired by the techniques of early cinema. In a daring twist of format, that's for sure, characters are portrayed by dancers and voiced by an eclectic cast of the world's most recognizable actors. That's the end of the quote. That's a pretty good description, but I'll tell you some more about it. So, if watching movies every Christmas based on the 1843 Charles Dickens classic is your annual tradition, you might want to watch this new take on the story. In fact, Charles Dickens is actually listed as one of the writers of the film because so much of his original writings are included in the narration. So that's kind of cool. Honestly, it feels like you're watching a play by Shakespeare. You don't quite love it, but you wished that you did. And you also know that you're better and more cultured for having seen it. So I think some people will love it and some people will go, okay, not my cup of tea. And so that's why I'm trying to give you a heads up. It's just a very different telling of the story, but it's beautiful. And the technical filmmaking is really admirable. But I'll get to that in just a second. First, some tips for parents. Most kids are going to be pretty bored and maybe even confused, especially if they haven't seen anything like this type of storytelling before, or if they don't even know the original story. And for adults, same. Prostitution is mentioned, there's some bullying, but mostly it's an adult movie of talking with some movement. And so it may not hold your kids' attention for very long. Some themes are service and love for others, the purpose of life, regret, change, acts of kindness, empathy and compassion, choices and their consequences, social injustice, family, isolation, memory, and forgiveness. So, I mean, it's a classic story for a reason. There are some beautiful lessons in the story. Now, there were plenty of things I really liked about the movie. First of all, the voices include the incredible Andy Serkis, who's from The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. You know him, you love him. He also played the Ghost of Christmas Past in a live action BBC miniseries version of the story just last year, 2019. Other extremely talented performers include Carey Mulligan. And by the way, stay tuned because she has a lovely movie called The Dig, which is coming out next month. Martin Freeman, Who doesn't love Martin Freeman? Simon Russell Beale, who just has a classic British voice, and Daniel Kaluuya. Now, this colorblind casting is utilized in voice, acting, and dance throughout the entire film. I loved the technically impressive ghost-like filter on the actors. It feels like a stage play that you're watching on the other side of an ethereal cloth. Another reviewer described watching the movie as peering into a dusty Victorian box. So true. That was really well said. The dancers are led by former Royal Ballet and Ballet Boys break dancers founder Michael Nunn. The styles blend ballet with breakdance, if you can imagine that. And two of my sons are break dancers. So as soon as they started breakdancing, I was like, whoa, except it's not like what you've seen before. Breakdancing is very, very fast and energetic. And this is slowed down where you can really appreciate the movement. Again, this is something you haven't seen before. So that's kind of cool. Even the actors sitting at a desk are constantly moving, so while they're looking at papers, they're dancing, they're moving. Anyway, it's really interesting. There's a lovely score by Alex Baranowski, and the animated backdrops add to the story-like feeling of Victorian England. And I thought that was a really nice added element. So translating this movie into any other language is going to be a piece of cake because the actors' mouths don't move. So the dubbed language will just look seamless. Again, you see people moving, but you don't see them talking. Like they're not trying to match the actor's voice with the actor who's not the same person voicing it, if that makes sense. Again, you just kind of have to see this. Very creative set designs, and Sean Phillips' narration also offers the perfect British voice that you'd want to tell this story. There's some symbolism that's also illustrated very well in this telling. For example, Scrooge represents the beliefs and values of Victorian England in the 1800s. So let your kids know that if they are watching this with you. Bob Cratchit represents the spirit of Christmas that Charles Dickens wanted to see revived in England. The fire that you see in fireplaces and other places represents the warmth of the Christmas season. And Marley's chains are not difficult to decipher. They are a symbol of his priorities, beliefs, and of course, the money that keeps him a slave, really. The ghost of Christmas present represents generosity, peace, and joy. And the light that emanates from the ghost from Christmas past is done really well and represents memories. And this whole movie feels like a dream, like a memory. And so I think visually, that illustrates that idea so well. Now, there were a few things that I didn't like. First of all, I think it would be better received as a stage play rather than as a movie, even though the movie elements really add to the telling. I just think that movie goers are expecting a different type of storytelling than what this is. If you're in the theater, you kind of are in the mood for that kind of a presentation, if that makes sense. Now, despite the constant movement, the movie actually lacks energy because you feel like you're floating in a dream. It doesn't have that vibrance that some of the other remakes of this movie have. The movie poster itself just doesn't do anything to attract the right audience as well. Now, before I go, I wanted to give you a couple of recommendations for other movies that I think that you will possibly enjoy more than this one. First is a movie called The Man Who Invented Christmas, which is a very humorous and magical telling of Charles Dickens as he was writing this story. Anyway, I think it's really good, and I think you'll really enjoy that one. And then another one, if you enjoy the dancing part of it, is, of course, to see the Nutcracker Ballet. I mean, in any form, but because of the dancing and the colors, that will put you more in a Christmas spirit. And I didn't mention the colors in this movie. It feels very dusty, like that other reviewer had described it as. It's lots of gray tones and like you're looking at the past through a filter of some kind. All right, that's it for my review. I hope if you watch this movie, you appreciate it and enjoy it. And remember the reason for the season and to always share love and kindness with others. And speaking of love and kindness, thank you to all of you who have subscribed and for those of you who have gone over to Patreon to support me over there. I will catch you in the next video. And until then, bye for now.